I just wanted to give you a couple of tips online. It's so much easier than typing it all out. So hopefully this will work for you. But come in and meet with me if you want. But this is not too bad. Your topic has actually been written about quite a bit. Let me show you 3 places to look. I was going to say 2, but another one popped into my head. First one, if you go to research databases, there is, if you go by subject, you can go to education and see all the education-related databases. A lot of education is contextualized by the policymakers, so the people who create budgets for educators. So they have to provide a lot of evidence that they're being successful. So this is a great place to go. There's a bunch of things to look at education, but the best one, according to the education librarian, is this one right up at the top, and I totally agree. But when you're in this bucket, this particular database, you're in education, so you don't have to use that as a keyword. So if you just do foster children, and you'll see a bunch of these different ideas here. So there'll be like behavior problems in education, mental health programs. But if you just look for foster children in quotes, it will find that as a single keyword together instead of foster here and children there. Again, we're just in education, so you don't have to use that as a keyword. Here's one trick that I wanted to show you that was impossible to describe. There's what, like 1,100 articles? That's probably a bit too much to look at, isn't it? If you go down on the left-hand side, you can see things like academic journals. But right under it is subject. These are the subjects for all of the articles in that pile of 1,100 articles. And you can see foster children's at the top, obviously. But if you click on Show More, it'll pop up this little mini window, and it will give you all of these topics. All these topics have been described by the authors of the papers. So they're pretty basic. It's not going to be misleading. So in education, a lot of state policies like childcare or nutrition and things like that are going to show up in the education context. So how do you get around that? You can look at like home care, child welfare, but hopefully, oh, education of foster children. That's a good one. So there's 113 articles there. That's good. Social support, families, we're looking for descriptive statistics. That might be worthwhile looking at. Ooh, academic achievement. That's the quantification of educational success in some assessments. You get the idea. When you click on update, it's going to narrow down that 1,100 articles pile to just the ones related to the topics that you picked. You can also go, so this has a relevancy rating, but if you're, for this class in particular, I think you have to find things that are in the last 5 years. So you could go by date newest, but you can also go and narrow it down by publication date. So 5 years ago, what's 2019? I don't know how far, 5 years. I would guess, if we're going to go for 2019. And it'll do its magic update. Now you have 48 articles to look through. Much more sustainable and easier to cruise through. Second database that I wanted to show you. Oh, by the way, there's a lot of full text here. You can get the PDFs. But if you run Stuck, looks like a lot of them are full text. Oh, if you run Stuck and it says Find It, you'd click on the Find It button. It would open up a new window and it would say it might be available in this database. So on this one, it's like, oh, it might be this database, might be this database. If you run Stuck, let me know. It's my job. I can help you out. Second place to look. Oh, you know what? When we were in class, I was looking at sociological abstracts. That one's really good. So you could do foster children and education, and you might get similar things. But a lot of that is probably going to be about how to get foster kids into school or the problem of foster kids moving around schools. So that one's kind of tough. You might have to work with different ideas with that. How to get around that is, I wanted to show you another government-related one. Public policy under the letter P is, here's my symbol for the letter P. Why did I do that? PAIS International. This one's good. So I'm going to try my foster children. Frosty children. and education, because it's not just education. But this one they're measuring. So in sociological abstracts, they're looking at the phenomenon and the population and characteristics of. But in public policy, they're wanting to quantify successes. So this one's still pretty good, as opposed to sociological abstracts. You might try educational attainment. Oh, this is pretty good. And this, you have to click the Find a button for some of these. And again, you can go with the date. You can crank it up to 2013 or 14, and then just get the most recent. There are fewer articles, because when you look at public policy, they're looking at like really big issues, and it might not be touched on in specific policies in every location. So it looks pretty good. Lastly, last database is called Scopus. Scopus is all the disciplines under the sun, but the cool thing you can do is you found a good article, you can see how many people had cited it. So I'm going to do my search again. Oh, it wants me to join the club, sorry. Foster children and education. Now this one, oh, here the social worker one shows up at the top. That's fascinating. On this one, it's multidisciplinary. Don't be thrown off by that yet. But you can see the number of times that this article's been cited is 0, because it was like just published, if it's been published at all. But if you go to this sort menu and you collect the citations by the number of times they were cited, then the most important ones will bubble to the top, arguably. Watch what happens. Ooh. So on this one, 190 cited this one, but it's an endocrinology journal. It says very little, if anything, to do with your topic. So what you'll have to do is once you sort this way, you have to cruise down. Oh, there's behavioral problems. There's child maltreatment. That might be foster parent stress. Oh, school performance. Huh, look at that. So quantifiably, even though this one's a little old, it's from 2011, quantifiably, this one is at the top of the list. It was so important that 82 other scholars or groups of scholars publishing papers had to publish this one, otherwise their paper would be incomplete. The trick that I wanted to show you is if you do find that one that looks pretty good, this one really does, if you click on this 82, these are all the articles that cited this one since 2011. So you can click like mad in this database. And so there's 82 articles that like that one, but you can also sort it by the number of times cited. So interventions aiming to improve school achievements, tutoring, socioeconomic status, that one might, so they might not all be exactly what you're looking for, but this is a great way to narrow down and find out what the best ones are at the top of your list. Hopefully this is a good place for you to start, but let me know if you're unstuck. I would be happy to help.